Right now, the strike is officially over as the nurses at Merida Hospital returned to work this morning, what the two sides agreed upon. Also, Irish Fest was back this weekend. We'll take you to all the sights and sounds. That's all coming up on News 3 Now at 5:30. Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jalen Banks. We begin tonight with breaking news. The FBI is responding to an incident in Boulder, Colorado that they are describing as an act of terror. They are also reporting multiple victims. A man with a weapon reportedly set people on fire in the attack. It took place at the Boulder Run for Their Lives event, a weekly gathering of the Jewish community members meant to support the hostages taken during the October 7th attacks in Israel. Officials say a suspect has been taken into custody, but they have not been identified. We'll continue to keep you updated as we gather more information, but let's get a look at your first warn forecast with meteorologist Blaze Keller, who joins us live right outside our Madison studios. Blaze, it was another beautiful day, but some changes are on the way, right?
That's right. We are tracking alert day conditions on Tuesday after a warm and breezy Monday. We're going to see maybe some alert day conditions with some possible severe weather Tuesday afternoon, overnight into Wednesday. But tonight we are going to be quiet, and actually we could be underneath some good conditions to see auroras, so the northern lights. We'll talk about that in the full forecast. We hang out in the upper 40s to low to mid 50s tonight with 60s possible along the Mississippi River. As I mentioned, Jalen and folks at home, alert day conditions on Tuesday. We're underneath a marginal and slight risk for severe weather, so an isolated to a few severe thunderstorms will be possible there in the green to yellow. So if you're in the yellow, you will likely have that better chance for more severe thunderstorms than those in the green. Right now, wind and hail are going to be our main threats in the full forecast. We'll break down the timing and talk about what lies ahead for the rest of the upcoming work week. That's coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, sounds good, Blaze. We'll see you in just a bit. And you can track the forecast for yourself on the First Warn weather app. It has hourly planners, road conditions, and even radar. You can download it for free in your phone's app store. Just search WISC Weather. Unity Point Health Merida and their nurses, as well as the union representing them, have agreed to a 2-year contract. This comes after months of negotiations. The nurses went on strike after the demands of staffing, safety, and burnout concerns were not met. Both the hospital and the unions say there was progress made in areas of concern as well as wage increases. The nurses returned back to work this morning. Right now, Irish Fest in Madison is wrapping up. The 3-day event took place all over Dane County with more than 1,000 people attending. Our Tanisha Shaw talked to a Wisconsin business owner that's reuniting people with their culture at the festival.
Music celebrating Irish culture at the Garver Feed Mill. Thousands gathered over 3 days to attend Irish Fest Madison. On Sunday, people traveled to see bands and business owners, like Kathleen Massino, who happens to be both.
So I made this design, and that was in 2018, and I've sold over 3,000 of them on Etsy now.
Massino performed with her band, 3 Pints Gone. After her set, she sold these blossoms from her business, Scottish Blossoms.
So the patterns are very different depending on what your history, what your name is. And so there's 360 of them here, but there are 14,000 tartans. But I have 360 of kind of the more prevalent names.
These pins celebrate Scottish and Irish culture.
People gave me pieces of their leftover tartan so they could match their husband's kilts, or they could show their family tartan.
She attended Madison Irish Fest for years and said the best part is always being a part of those monumental moments for her customers.
Well, I do get to make them for the good and the bad. I make them for funerals where they bury their loved one with part of the tartan, or I make it for weddings.
Moments like that are common during the festival, according to the event organizer, Bonnie Summers Olson.
People come here who actually make products that people can get their own plant or their own crest, depending if they're Scottish or Irish. They connect with people in the community. I see people bringing their grandparents and bringing their babies because I think it's multi-generational.
Reporting in Madison, Tanisha Shaw, News 3 Now.
Tanisha, thank you. The festival wraps up in just about 30 minutes at 6 o'clock. Voting for Madison Magazine's Best of Madison 2025 is now open. From now through June 30th, you can vote once per day on your favorite food, lifestyle, entertainment, and more. that Madison has to offer. Just head on over to channel3000.com/Madison Magazine. Coming up next on News 3 Now, a Wisconsin teacher's aide ordered to self-deport within the next 4 days. We bring you the story of Yesenia Ruano. Plus, Republican Senator Rand Paul speaks out against President Trump's big, beautiful bill. That and more after the break.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5:30.
Thank you for staying with us. A Milwaukee Public Schools teacher's aide has just 4 days to leave the country after being told by the Department of Homeland Security that she must return to El Salvador, despite having applied for a visa designed to protect trafficking victims. Mary McCarr has more.
I'm not asking anything more than time.
Time Yesenia Ruano no longer has.
That is the hard part for me when I'm trying the best I can do, the legal ways, and now we are closing the doors.
The mother of two and teacher's aide was told by the Department of Homeland Security Friday she has 4 days to pack up and leave the country she's lived in for 14 years. At the start of the year, the agency told her to return to El Salvador, a place she left because of poverty, trafficking, and fear for her safety. In February, ICE gave her more time in the country to apply for a T visa for victims of severe human trafficking. She spent nearly $14,000 and all those weeks in between doing just that. But despite having a receipt of her application, the agency told her she still could not stay.
My daughters don't know about this bad news right now, and I hope that different way we can submit for asking more time.
Yesenia's attorney says the agency's decision to send her back is a disservice to his client.
If we're not going to take into consideration the fact that these visas are taking 3 to 4 years, if we're not going to take into consideration the fact that she's here with her family, contributing to society, what good is it to have these laws?
In between tears, hugs from supporters, and what Yesenia calls shocking news, she tells us despite it all, she still has hope.
The summer is here, and for teen drivers, that's not necessarily good news. According to AAA, more than 13,000 people were killed in a crash between Labor Day and Memorial Day is when it most often occurred. That's because teens are out of school and logging more hours of unsupervised driving time. Parents are encouraged to educate their teens on using the Do Not Disturb feature on their phones to ease distracted driving. Newly released information shows promising findings on colorectal cancer treatment and prevention. The studies were presented at the annual meeting of the American Society of Clinical Oncology. One study looked at 900 colon cancer patients. It found a 28% reduction in the risk of reoccurrence or new cancer for patients on a regular exercise program. Researchers say walking briskly for an hour or a few times a week, along with eating leafy greens, made a big difference. Pushback continues from some Republicans who are opposed to President Trump's budget bill. They say the costs in the bill outweigh recent cuts and add too much to the deficit. CBS News' Christian Benavidez has more.
Republican Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky is among those legislators not backing down from concerns about President Trump's budget bill. On Sunday, Paul said he's one of several Republican senators against the way the bill is currently written, arguing it adds too much to the deficit.
If I vote for the $5 trillion debt, who's left in Washington that cares about the debt? We will have lost. But the GOP will own the debt once they vote for this.
Trump has been adamant the bill, which he's named Big and Beautiful, should move forward quickly. Over the weekend, the president wrote on social media that if Senator Paul votes against the bill, the people of Kentucky will never forgive him.
Look, I want to vote for it. I'm for the tax cuts. I've voted for the tax cuts before. I want the tax cuts to be permanent. But at the same time, I don't want to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion. So I've told him if you take the debt ceiling off the bill, in all likelihood, I can vote for what the agreement is on the rest of the bill.
Paul was also critical of Trump's tariffs, which he called attacks on his constituents. Over the weekend, the administration also continued to defend its recent decision to stop recommending COVID vaccines to healthy pregnant women and children.
That panel has been a kangaroo court where they just rubber stamp every single vaccine put in front of them.
A number of medical organizations, including the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, have expressed concern over the administration's changing guidelines, noting the dangers COVID poses to pregnant women. The FDA commissioner said on Face the Nation, it's best for patients to consult with their doctors over COVID vaccines going forward. Cristian Benavides, CBS News.
Coming up after the break, Blaze Keller returns with a complete look of your First One forecast.
We are looking at a quiet night tonight as temperatures settle into those 50s and 40s, maybe a few 60s out there further towards the Mississippi River. But we're still going to be dealing with some of that haze, and we'll talk about what that haze might impact in just a moment. Monday, we're going to be breezy and much warmer into the upper 80s, if not a few low 90s, all ahead of our next weather system that is going to potentially bring us some severe weather, which is why we're still keeping those alert day conditions and that alert day for Tuesday, especially Tuesday afternoon, overnight into early Wednesday. So let me fix this graphic. Sometimes our graphic system does this. We can keep it full screen, but sometimes it just doesn't want to update. But here is a look at that marginal and slight risk for severe weather. So within the yellow, we could maybe squeeze out 1 or 2 more severe thunderstorms than, say, folks in the green. That's the marginal risk. This is the slight risk. We're not anticipating long-lived storms, an outbreak by any means, as the marginal and the slight are on the lower end of the categories outlined by the Storm Prediction Center. What are we thinking in terms of threats? Mostly wind and hail, because we're going to watch as a line of storms develops. But the good news is during the morning hours, and we'll keep an eye on it as we get closer to Tuesday, FutureTrack is keeping a lot of cloud cover overhead, and that means that we're not really putting a lot of resources out on the table. There's not as much food out on the table for these storms later Tuesday afternoon to eat from. So we're already kind of knocking them down a little bit, maybe making it a little bit harder for them to maintain that strength. But as that line of storms moves on through, it will use whatever resources it can while limited and maybe squeeze out 1 or 2 severe thunderstorms. Eventually, this moves on out of here by about early Wednesday morning. Some lingering showers and thunderstorms across far southeastern parts of Wisconsin through the morning commute. But after that, we should sit pretty quietly for the rest of Wednesday. Again, strong wind and hail are going to be our main threats. There's never going to be a chance that we can completely rule out a tornado threat. We just look at what is in the environment and what then do we possibly see being the greatest of the threats. This time, it's wind and hail. We may see some weak embedded rotation within that line of storms, so maybe a weak spin up, a weak tornado. So make sure you're staying with News 3 Now for the latest. We'll keep you updated. But right now, we just see a marginal and slight risk for severe weather. This evening, though, peaking right around midnight, we could see the northern lights. There's a pretty strong, it's a G3 out of G5. Geomagnetic storm moving through the globe right now. So we are able to see it at least on the horizon. Will they be overhead? I know we had a beautiful couple of northern light shows last year. It could be like that, but the problem is, folks at home in Jalen, the haze from the wildfires. While we won't have cloud cover, the haze from the wildfires might inhibit that chance. But if you want to venture out there and you get any photos of the northern lights, send them our way. We love to see them. And then Monday, breezy. Winds are going to be out of the south, upper 80s to low 90s. And then we get ready for that storm threat on Tuesday afternoon, overnight into Wednesday. We sit quietly for the most part on Thursday and Friday, but we could see an isolated to scattered chance for showers and thunderstorms Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of next week.
You were able to get some really good pictures last year with the northern lights.
That one, I can't remember specifically when it was, but to see, and I know Armand did a story about it too, and a lot of folks sent us those videos and photos. That was something that is like, it still blows my mind. I mean, that's something we see up in like, Iceland or Alaska, not down here, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna try my best to hopefully get something that you ended up getting last year. Beautiful for sure. Speaking of lights, The Brewers have been playing lights out the last few days or so. Could they keep things rolling?
They absolutely would try to. They've been playing lights out. They've won 6 in a row, looking for their 7th straight. Plus, what happened to Christian Yelich's hand? We tell you all that next on News 3 Now. The Brewers' early season struggles were well documented, but today we get to talk about the good stuff because a win today would give them 7 straight victories, and it just so happens that it was in the 7th inning when magic struck. But first, some bad news to start. Christian Yelich was hit in the hand by this pitch in the first inning, forcing him to leave the game. They're calling it a hand contusion. To the 7th, trailing 2-1, and William Contreras hits what looked like an inning-ending ground out, but Trey Turner couldn't handle it. Caleb Durbin comes in and ties the game at 2. And you know what happens next. Jake Bauers comes in to pinch hit and turns the Phillies' mistakes into a 2-run double, securing Milwaukee's 7th straight win as they take it 5-2. Whitewater baseball won more than 40 games this season, but before their return trip to the D3 World Series, their head coach told me none of that would matter and it wouldn't mean a thing without a national championship ring. After last year's national runner-up finish, of course, and a chance today to start 2-0 in Eastlake, Ohio, which would put the Warhawks in prime position to return to the championship series. Already ahead 1-0 in the 3rd, and from there it was bombs away. Adam Kootway lifts one to left, and you can forget about it. He sets a program record with 20 homers in a season and gives UW a 2-0 lead. And later in the frame, Danny Hopper, 2 on, and he hits one a mile. They would take a 5-0 lead thanks to that 3-run bomb from Hopper and never look back. They'd win it 11-4. AmFam Week is officially upon us, and on Friday, a new age begins for the annual PGA Champions Tour tournament right here in Madison. In years past, the event was played at University Ridge, but this year it makes the long-awaited move to a course designed by Steve Stricker himself. Ahead of its PGA debut, I had the honor to play the course. This past Wednesday, I had the incredible privilege of playing a round of golf here at TPC, Wisconsin. Of course, the brand new site for the American Family Insurance Championship. I'm here with my guy, Ryan, and of course is going to hit a beautiful shot here, right here on the 16th hole. We'll bring it back to the studio where we're getting ready for the AmFam Championship later this week. And Jalen, I've got the scorecard here. I don't know that I really want to show you. It's not very pretty, but in all seriousness, that's going to be a lot of fun this week.
Well, real quick, how was it getting to play on it? It was amazing.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. You don't really get the chance very often to play on a PGA Tour quality course. And some other people that will have that same opportunity this coming week in front of actual fans: Justin Herbert, Mia Hamm, Charles Woodson, the celebrities joining Andy North. That is going to be a lot of fun to watch, in addition to Steve Stricker, Jerry Kelly, and the rest of the field.
Absolutely. It's really cool how each and every single year they're able to get some pretty notable names out there. I'm sure it's going to be an awesome event at TPC.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast.
All right, well, sounds good. Thank you, Andrew. Blaze returns with the final check of your first one forecast when we return. So we were just talking about how this week is AmFam Week. How's it going to look for them, out there on course this week?
Not great on Tuesday.
That's all right. We're looking Friday through Sunday. That's where we need the money makers.
An isolated shower, thunderstorm possible, but nothing widespread, no washouts. That's going to be happening on Tuesday. Tonight, quiet, mostly clear to clear conditions. Haze sticking around. We're going to be pretty seasonal in the low 50s, upper 80s to low 90s on Monday. Better chance for rain Tuesday, and then those isolated chances Friday, Saturday, and then that following Sunday.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, guys. Coming up next is 60 Minutes. We'll see you back here at 10 o'clock, and as always, you can catch streaming 24/7 on Channel 3000+.